Everybody, how's it going? Quick review for Longlegs came out this year, directed by Osgood Perkins and starring Micah Monroe and Nicolas Cage as Longlegs. This is a horror thriller sort of movie. It basically follows this FBI agent Lee Harker, played by Monroe, who is tasked with tracking down a serial killer called Longlegs, who's sort of an occultist serial killer, part of a murder suicide sort of thing, where he's never been present at the crime scene and leaves some Zodiac-esque clues around, and you have a sort of thriller horror movie on your hands. It's very atmospheric. Um, I watched this a few days ago. I ended up not really caring for it. I was very excited for it. There was a lot of marketing for it, and marketing's one thing. I try not to. I like to watch trailers once in a while, but I try not to get too involved in it because marketing is marketing, right? But a lot of my friends saw this and really enjoyed it. So I was looking forward to it. It was a bit disappointing, I have to be honest. I know that that's not a popular opinion. People are really loving this movie. And I can see why. It's a fun horror movie. It has some atmosphere to it. Um, Nicolas Cage is just ridiculous in this movie. And so that's a lot of fun. But to me, what I really didn't like about this film was the script. I thought that it's a very slow-paced movie, and this is a term that I'm seeing pop up more and more these days, elevated horror. Now, on one hand, I'm glad that this is a thing that's happening now because as a horror fan, I'm getting tired, the past 10, 15 years of just god awful, schlocky crap coming out, right? So it's nice to see horror becoming a little more mainstream. That's maybe a little more, well, I guess elevated is the best way to describe it. But on the other hand, I find sometimes with these movies now that the script is just very lacking. The movie definitely does have a great atmosphere to it. And cinematography in this is fantastic. I don't remember the DP's name, but there's some great cinematography in here. There's some great music. The music is very sparse in here, but you get a lot of creepy string kind of action in here. You get some cool stylized 70s nods, you get Fincher nods, you get all sorts of things. But ultimately, I found that the script was just not enough to propel this forward. It's very slow, which I certainly don't mind a slow paced movie, but I just found like I was watching disconnected scenes with not a lot going on in them. And it's like when I'm watching a movie like that, I really am hoping it's building to something. Uh, like if what I'm watching is so heavily based in this atmosphere and the story is just moving at such a slow pace. I hope that the payoff is worth it. And in this, I just didn't feel like that. Now, certainly, I won't spoil it because hopefully, if you're watching this, well, if you're watching this and you've seen it, let me know what you think. But I'm not going to spoil it. But I found the phrase "show don't tell," right? That's one of my biggest pet peeves in books and filmmaking is exposition dumps. And I found that this movie relied on that to wrap things up, and that's not something that will never fly with me. And I was kind of taken aback when I got there in the film. Like, why are you doing this? Um, it's a bit hard to talk about without spoiling, of course. Maybe I'll do a spoiler-filled video at a certain point. But what it basically breaks down to is I didn't think that the script was that great. It was very much trope-filled. It definitely paid homage to other styles of movies, which I liked. But at the same time, sometimes it felt less like an homage and more like it was just, I wouldn't say ripping off other movies, but it was too heavily based on other films. Um, and it never really did things. I could pick apart the script if I wanted to. There's a lot of weird little things in here, but I also found Monroe's not really a compelling character. I've only seen her in It Follows, and I thought she gave a good performance in that film. But in here, and maybe it's perhaps the way the character is written, the way she's directed, because this movie is such a weird, sort of surreal tone to it. Maybe she was directed to be spaced out, but she just seems so disconnected. And granted, through some of the occurrences in the story, some of that makes sense, but I don't know. I just didn't find her believable as an FBI agent. I didn't buy her acting at times. I don't know if it's the actress, like I said, but And what comes from that is me not really caring about the character. I felt like there were no stakes really. I just didn't really care about most of the characters in here. And to be honest with you, there are just, like I said, tropes. There are some things that are just like eye roll for me. Like, ugh, come on, man. Um, Stuff that just, I don't know, doesn't fly with me. Um, Jump scares. There's not a lot of jump scares in here. It's not like constant, but the movie, honestly, I found for the most impactfully scary moments did rely on jump scares. Oh, what? Boom, loud noise, or cut to something crazy with a loud noise. I'm getting tired of that kind of shit. So that was disappointing to see. Not to say that the movie is totally reliant on it, because it does a good job at building atmosphere at times. Then we come to Nick Cage, who I love Nicolas Cage, and I have to be honest, he does a really good job in this movie. He's barely in the film, but when he is, he's definitely a presence, man. And I have to say, like, I don't find this character scary. I didn't find the movie scary at all. If anything, it's more of a thriller, like a dark thriller, than a horror film. But then it tries to be a horror film at times from the script. And Nick Cage was, to me, was just like laughable when I saw anytime he was on screen, and the shit that he was doing in this movie had me laughing. I know that it was probably meant to be maybe a little tongue in cheek, but mostly scary, and it didn't do it. Now, with that being said, I thought it was awesome. Like, don't get me wrong. I thought that Nicolas Cage, to me, it was very clear that this was some sort of shit that he was really enjoying. If you have seen what he looks like in this movie, or you've seen glimpses of him from the trailer, he's got a lot of prosthetics and makeup on and all this sort of stuff, and kind of unrecognizable. And there were a few times where I was like, "Oh yeah, that's Nick Cage. I forgot." But he's just having a blast in this movie, and I love to see that. I don't find it scary. I thought it was honestly like really funny. Um, but that's about as much as I can say without getting into spoilers. I was let down by this. It kind of reminded me of like those movies like Insidious and Sinister, where they have a great scary atmosphere and a great idea, and they just fizzle out and are not really cohesive. And I've never seen any of other of Osgood Perkins' films, so I don't know what his other stuff is like. But this was really, to me, was just okay. I would watch it again if a friend wanted to watch it. It's not a bad movie by any means, but it didn't really do much for me. So I give it like a 3 out of 5. It had its moments, but I was a bit disappointed. Definitely, like I said, an unpopular opinion. This movie's doing great at the box office. People are loving this. Good to see that. Like I said, good to see these types of horror movies are finding more general audience. So let me know what you thought, if you liked this movie or you didn't care for it. And yeah, I'll be back with something else. Peace out. Have a wonderful day.